So welcome to Real Relief for Sleep module number 3. And as you know, in Real Relief for Sleep, we talk about the 8 different root causes of poor sleep. We've talked about bedroom environment and light exposure already, but we're now going to talk about eating, your diet. And so poor eating habits is a cause for poor sleep. So we're firstly going to get into section number 1, in which we talk about the importance of your diet. Then we'll move on and where I'll teach you how you can improve your diet to improve your sleep. Then we'll have a practical section of how that looks practically, and fourth we'll finish up with a wrap up. So the food that you eat can be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. So today I'm going to teach you the tricks and the tools of how to make your food a medicine, a healthy medicine for you to help you get your body working as it should. So there's been a reasonable amount of work done on the relationship between food and sleep scientifically. And what the studies show is that short sleepers consume diets that are higher in unhealthy fats, lower in protein, they have a lower intake of healthy foods, they eat less fruit and vegetables, and they eat less food variety. Okay, so if all you were to do is switch this around and eat healthy fats and more protein and more fruit and vegetables and more variety in your diet, you could actually improve your sleep. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. It's not just about what you eat, but how you eat. And if you look at the scientific literature, people that sleep less, so short sleepers, consume diets differently, okay? They eat main meals at night less often. There's less tendency to eat 3 meals per day. They have more irregular eating and evening snacks. There's more dieting, there's more snacking, and there's more eating out. Okay. So there's 6 ways a poor quality diet can cause insomnia. Okay. Firstly, poor quality choices of food and our poor soils anyway can lead to mineral deficiencies. And also, if you're eating less protein, this can lead to amino acid insufficiencies. And both of these things can reduce and interfere with our body's ability to make neurotransmitters, including melatonin. Unbalanced blood sugars and elevated cortisol are also caused by poor diet. And when we have elevated cortisol, it can lead to us not being able to go to sleep or stay asleep as well. All right. Poor quality diets have increased levels of glutamate and histamines, which are stimulatory neurotransmitters. And we talked about that sleep-wake cycle, and the glutamate and histamines really increase that hyperarousal system. Poor quality diet can increase inflammation of the brain too, which means basically that it doesn't work properly, the neurotransmitters don't work properly, and can lead to depression, which can lead to poor sleep as well. So remember we talked about the sleep-wake system and it being regulated by 2 major processes. So we have the sleep-inducing system and we have the hyperarousal-inducing system. Okay, so we want to ensure that what we're eating is helping us make our neurotransmitters properly, our sleep-inducing system neurotransmitters properly, but also we want to make sure we're avoiding too much of these stimulatory neurotransmitters like histamine and glutamates. And we also want to make sure that we're balancing our blood sugars so we're not so it's not leading to adrenaline surges, okay, and elevated cortisol levels. We'll talk about that more shortly when we talk about unbalanced blood sugars. But really there's lots of ways and lots of things that we can do from a dietary perspective to improve our sleep. But here's a few questions you can ask yourself that can help identify whether your diet could be affecting your sleep. So do you drink coffee, black tea, matcha, energy drinks, Mountain Dew or cola, or eat dark chocolate? Do you eat protein at less than 3 meals a day? And the protein sources that most common protein sources include meat, chicken, fish, eggs, and legumes. Do you eat a low carbohydrate diet? Do you eat less than 4 servings of vegetables and 2 pieces of fruit per day? Or do you eat lots of fried fatty foods or eat out regularly? Do you miss main meals and snack a lot? Are you on a calorie restricted diet? And do you have a sweet tooth and eat lots of sugary foods? Now, if you've answered yes to any of these questions, there's work that you need to do on your diet to improve your sleep. Now remember, we've got that workbook there, and so I'd like you to use your workbook and go through the checklists, and these are going to highlight areas for you that you can improve. So I want to make sure that you get a good overview of how diet is affecting your sleep and giving you all the details, and then later on we'll really talk about how to implement that in a practical way. But let's talk about the 5 dietary keys to improve your sleep. So firstly, it's stop all caffeine, eat adequate protein, eat healthy fats, balance your blood sugars, and remove food chemicals if necessary. So let's first talk about caffeine. Okay. Did you know it's estimated that 85% of the US population drink at least 1 caffeinated beverage each day? Okay, so it's highly likely that you're drinking one of them right now, and that could be affecting your sleep. Okay, so stopping the consumption of all caffeine is one of the most important keys for solving insomnia, anxiety, and high blood pressure. This is what I believe. Okay. My suggestion is that you remove all caffeine until you have resolved your sleep. Then you can experiment with your sensitivity to it. Okay. So the thing is that caffeine increases the time to get to sleep, reduces total sleep time, and reduces sleep quality. The way that it does this is it blocks adenosine receptors. Now, I'm not sure if you'll remember, but remember when we talked about the sleep-wake cycle, under the sleep-inducing system, adenosine is one of the inhibitory neurotransmitters, ones that is involved in getting us to sleep and calming us down. But caffeine blocks its function, okay? And so what happens is adenosine builds up in the brain the longer that we're awake, okay? And so the more it builds up, the sleepier we become. But when we drink caffeine, it blocks this process. And so it means that we remain alert and vigilant, all right? So we need to make sure that we're avoiding coffee. And I can hear what you're telling me. I say, but I only have 1 coffee and I have it first thing in the morning. People have told me that I can have it first thing in the morning. Well, I'm going to tell you something different, and I'm going to give you evidence for this. All right. So for most people, they can tolerate caffeine in the morning. Okay. But if you've got poor sleep, if you can't get to sleep, if you're waking through the night, or you have anxiety, then you're not most people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But let me show you, kind of give you more evidence for this. I mean, really, you can really call caffeine liquid stress. You're drinking liquid stress. So when you drink even 1 coffee in the morning, you're setting yourself up for a day of stress. And then this impacts your sleep at night. And I know that for most people, they can metabolize caffeine, but there's some of us that can't. But let's have a look at those, at normal people that can metabolize caffeine in the average normal way. Okay, it takes So caffeine has something called a half-life, okay? And the half-life of caffeine is 5 hours. What that means, it takes 5 hours for your body to process 50% of the caffeine and for the caffeine to drop by 50%, okay? That means that it takes another 5 hours to process 50% of that already reduced 50%. So it takes 10 hours in total for the caffeine to drop by 75%. Now it takes another 5 hours for you to process that caffeine that's still there and for it to drop by 50%. And so it's 15 hours for the caffeine to drop by 87.5%. And it takes 20 hours for the caffeine to drop 93.5%. Right, so you can see there that it's nearly taking a whole day for your body to be able to process caffeine, okay, and to get rid of all of it, okay. Everyone just looks at that half-life and says, oh, it takes 5 hours for your body to process the caffeine. It's not true. It's 5 hours to process half of the caffeine, all right? And this is just for normal people. So yes, it might be 15 hours before breakfast. So let's say it's 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 hours is 8 o'clock at night. So 11 o'clock at night, you've dropped 87.5%. That's only if you have one coffee, all right? The thing is, there's a lot of us, and I'm one of them, that is a slow processor. And I know this because I've checked my genetics. Okay, and caffeine clearance and sensitivity can differ depending on a person's genetics, their hormones, their medication, and even their smoking too. So for someone that's on an oral contraceptive, it can double the half-life of caffeine. Okay, and although the research isn't clear on how long the half-life of caffeine will be for other people that are slow metabolizers, let's just take the example of the oral contraceptive and it doubling the half-life of caffeine. So it takes 10 hours for the caffeine to drop 50%. That means it takes 20 hours for your body to drop the caffeine to 75%, reduce it by that much. It takes 30 hours to drop it by 87.5% and 40 hours to get rid of most of the caffeine. That's nearly 2 days, okay? And so, when someone says to you that, oh, you can have a coffee as long as it's before lunchtime, it's not right, because it might only take 5 hours to get, for normal people that are normal metabolizers. I'm not saying you're abnormal, but people that are normal caffeine metabolizers, to reduce the caffeine by 15%. But there's some of us that have these genetic vulnerabilities, and maybe hormones are affecting that. It could be oral contraceptive or even just having estrogen dominance. You might be more sensitive to caffeine, right? So the reason I've given you these numbers is to show you that it might take your body 4 days, 40 hours, so 2 days to process that caffeine from 1 cup of coffee, okay? So I've said to you that you need to stop the consumption of all caffeine, okay? Because this is one of the most important keys for solving insomnia. And, you might not know if you're a fast metabolizer or a slow metabolizer of caffeine, but it's my rule for everybody that is having issues with their sleep or any issues with anxiety. You need to stop all the caffeine, and we'll talk about what sources you can get caffeine through shortly, but you need to do that. And then when you've resolved your sleep, you can experiment to see how sensitive to it you actually are, if you can handle one first thing in the morning. But I've had multiple clients come to me and they're like, I just have one in the morning because I need some energy. And it's like, well, in the end, it actually steals their energy because it impacts their sleep at night. Okay, so here's the multiple ways that you're consuming caffeine. So obviously the most obvious ones are through coffee, black tea, green tea, matcha, but energy drinks as well, and soda, including Coke and Pepsi and Mountain Dew, and also through foods such as cocoa and chocolate. And although people are saying you should eat dark chocolate for the health benefits in it or help lower anxiety because of the L-theanine content, they forget that the fact that chocolate has caffeine in it, and the darker the chocolate, the higher the amount of caffeine. And I know personally, and through my clients, that chocolate at night does impact their sleep and can stop them from going to sleep and can make them restless through the night and awake through the night. Now, for some people, I've just included decaf coffee in here because decaf coffee isn't 100% decaffeinated. It has a small amount of caffeine in it. And although it's very small, some people are super sensitive to caffeine and they can't tolerate decaf on a regular basis either. So just keep that in mind. So here's the different coffee substitutes or drinks ideas that you could consider. So hot water with or without lemon, caffeine-free herbal teas, okay. Red bush tea, or often called rooibos, is a South African black tea, or black tea that's caffeine-free though. Could try caffeine-free chai tea. It's a spice tea, but make sure it doesn't have black tea as the base. Okay, both red bush and chai tea you can add milk to, so it can give you that milky drink, hot drink feeling like a coffee does, as well as chicory root. Golden milk is another drink option, and you could just basically, it's milk with different herbs in it, spices in it, sorry, like turmeric and cinnamon and ginger and black pepper and honey. You can just Google and get a recipe off the internet for that. There's also mushroom adaptogenic teas. So if you're drinking coffee because you need more energy in the morning, then consider the mushroom adaptogenic teas. You want to avoid the ones that have caffeine as well as that mushroom adaptogen. But in the resource list, we do have some links to the mushroom adaptogenic teas available. Okay. You could consider drinking reduced caffeine options like decaf coffee and green tea, but be very cautious with this. As I said right at the beginning, you want to reduce all your caffeine and then input it back in later once you've resolved your sleep, and then you can see how sensitive you are to caffeine or not. Now, this last option isn't really a coffee substitute, as in it's not a drink, but if you're drinking coffee because of the energy, then it is a substitute. And we talked about bright light therapy in the previous module, okay? And you sit in front of the bright light for 30 minutes first thing in the morning, and it will wake you up. It will give you energy first thing in the morning. So if it's the energy that you're after, consider bright light therapy instead of drinking that coffee. So now we're just going to stop and consider this question. Now get out your workbook and answer this question, and it's going to highlight to you whether this is an issue for you. Do you drink any coffee, black tea, matcha, energy drinks or cola? And do you eat dark chocolate or any form of chocolate, especially later in the day? I'm just drinking my hot water. So let's move on and talk about the second dietary key to improve your sleep, and that is eat adequate protein. Now, what is protein? It's a source of energy, firstly. Its main role in the body is growth and repair. And it helps in the formation of muscles, hair, nails, skin, and organs, such as the heart, the kidneys, and the liver. And our bodies are contains a significant amount of protein. We're made up of a lot of protein. Like a 76 kilogram man is made up of 12 kilograms of protein, so 16% of body weight. So protein is important, and it has an impact on sleep too. Okay. So amino acids are the building blocks of protein. All right, so you get protein through your diet, and these protein are made up of amino acids. And there's 20 different amino acids, and 9 are essential. And we call them essential because our body cannot make them, okay? And you must get them from your diet. It's essential that you get them through your diet, all right? And the reason they're essential is, amino acids have a lot of different functions in the body, but like growth and repair and hair and everything, but it's also central, they're also central to making neurotransmitters, all right? And some of our sleep-inducing neurotransmitters that are made by amino acids include melatonin, serotonin, and GABA. So we need to get our protein through our diet so we can make them. And so I just want to give you an example of this biochemically. Okay, highlighted there is melatonin, our hormone of sleep. But let's see how melatonin is made in the body. You can see we need to eat protein, okay, dietary protein. We eat and our body breaks down and absorbs. And the tryptophan comes from that that protein. Okay, it's one of the amino acids found in our protein. Okay, and that tryptophan is made into 5-HTP, which is made into serotonin, our calming neurotransmitter. Okay, you're probably familiar with serotonin. That's a lot of the antidepressant medications work on improving serotonin in the level in the body. So you need protein to make melatonin because the serotonin then goes on to make melatonin. So it's really important what you eat. I think a lot of people forget that you literally are what you eat. Your brain comes from the food that you eat, all right? And so we need protein to make our neurotransmitters and our hormone of sleep, melatonin. Okay. So what are the sources of protein? So how can you're like, getting excited? I hope you are. Knowing that you can actually improve your sleep, you can improve the quantities of melatonin in the body just by what you're eating. So here are the different sources of protein: lamb, beef and pork, chicken and turkey, eggs and fish, okay? And dairy products as well, okay? For those that are vegan or vegetarian, the sources of protein include protein powders, beans and lentils, nuts and seeds, and tofu as well, and other soy products. Okay. If you are vegetarian or vegan, just my observation is that you need to be a lot more vigilant about how much protein you're eating. A lot of my clients, so we've reviewed their diet, and I've proved to them that they're not getting enough protein in their diet. So if you are choosing to have a vegan or vegetarian diet, you need to be very vigilant about the protein that you're eating. So how much protein do you need to eat per day? Okay, well, the dietary reference intake, the DRI, suggests that you eat 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and that's 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. The American College of Sports Medicine recommends higher amounts, okay, between 1.2 and 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Okay, my suggestion for mental health and for sleep is to have a minimum of 1 gram of protein per 1 kilogram of body weight, up to 1.5 grams per kilogram. And so this equates, for anyone that's 60 kilograms in body weight, that means you need to be aiming to eat 60 to 90 grams of protein per day. Okay, and for a 90 kilogram person, you need to aim for 90 to 145 grams of protein per day. Right? If you want to lose weight or put on muscle, definitely aim for the higher end of the range. Okay, so it actually takes some work to ensure that you're getting enough protein. Anyway, that is when I look at New Zealand diets anyway. All right. So here's just a suggestion of how you can get 89 grams of protein per day. All right, so that might be someone that's 60 grams and they want to eat the higher amount of protein, or someone that's 90 kilograms. This is your aim. So you might have some cooked oats with some milk for breakfast. You might choose to have a protein powder, a protein smoothie in the afternoon with some protein powder. You might choose to have some eggs for lunch with a handful of almonds for afternoon tea, and then 85 grams of chicken for dinner. This equates to 89 grams of protein. So you can see that having to eat protein at every meal, okay, and even this one diet is kind of adding a few snacks in there as well, a protein smoothie and some almonds. So you really have to be eating protein with every meal to get good enough protein levels. Okay, so my question to you is, do you eat protein at every meal? Okay, that means for breakfast as well. Do you eat protein maybe by eating some yogurt, or do you have a protein smoothie, or do you have some eggs? And what about lunch? Do you have some chicken or some fish or some eggs for lunch? And what about dinner? Making sure that you have a meat source. And yes, I prefer eating meat, and I recommend people eating fish and meat because of the nutrients that are in them that you need to eat. But if you are vegan, as long as you are mindful about your protein, then that's good. Okay, so let's move on to the third dietary key to improve your sleep. We're just going to go across, talk about this very quickly, but we want to ensure that you're eating healthy fats. Okay, so remember, the brain is the fattest organ in the body. It's made up of 50% fat. So fat is not is not the enemy. And I know that things are changing, but in the past, there's been a lot of products around that are light and low in fat, and it's been recommended that people don't eat much fat, okay, because they want to lose weight. But the thing is, fat is needed. It's fuel and storage. It helps with the brain, the structure of the brain. It actually makes up the cell membrane of every cell in our body. Okay, there's a lipid bilayer, and that's it's kind of like the skin of the cell, and we need that. We also need fat to make our steroid hormones like testosterone and estrogen. So if you're on a low-fat diet, it can impact your hormones too. And fat can also work as a chemical messenger. So omega-3, there's a particular form of omega-3 called EPA, and it's an anti-inflammatory molecule. So if we don't have enough of these good fats in our diet, our body can get inflamed, and that's when it can lead to depression, it can lead to weight gain, it can lead to cardiovascular disease. So fat is not the enemy. So we want to include good fats in our diet. We're not talking about fats from, fried food and, fries and chips and chicken McNuggets and things like that. We want to add healthy fats to our diets. And fats such as olive oil, coconut oil and cream, ghee or butter, avocado, nuts and seeds, eggs and fatty fish, including salmon and sardines and anchovies and mackerel. So highly recommend that you add these to your diet, because they're going to help balance your blood sugars, which we'll talk about next, and it's going to help you feel full and satisfied, and give you a lot of your vitamins that are fat-soluble vitamins as well, which are key for the body. So moving on to discuss balancing blood sugars. And when it comes to blood sugars, we need to talk about carbohydrates. Okay, so carbohydrates, or carbs, are sugar molecules, right, that we get from our food. They're one of the three main nutrients found in foods and drinks. So we've already talked about protein and fat. Carbs is the third main nutrient. And it's mostly found in bread and pasta and grains and beans, fruit, starchy vegetables, cakes, biscuits, and lollies too. So your body breaks down these carbohydrates into glucose. And glucose is the main source of energy for your body's cells, the tissues, and organs, and the brain too. Okay, really important for the brain, this glucose. But the thing is, you know, some people think carbs are bad, okay, but they're neither good nor bad. But not all carbs are created equal. We have some good carbs, and these help the brain uptake tryptophan and make melatonin. So when it comes to sleep, the benefit of carbs is they help us uptake tryptophan and make melatonin. All right. They also help maintain our blood sugars as well. Okay. Low carbohydrate diets and avoiding carbs at night can actually cause low melatonin and therefore can cause insomnia. So I just want to give you a little word of warning. If you're currently on a low carb diet, or you know, you restrict your carbs at night because you're trying to lose weight, that could be causing poor sleep. All right. Problem with so carbs can be called bad carbs too, all right? And the problem with these is they spike blood sugars and can cause reactive hypoglycemia, okay? Can lead to adrenaline surges and anxiety. And this is key for anyone with anxiety, panic attacks, waking through the night in panic, and as well as early morning waking, okay? So let's talk a little bit about reactive hypoglycemia. So reactive hypoglycemia can also be called low blood sugars. Okay, so hypo equals low, glycemia means glucose or sugar. So low sugar, low blood sugars. But reactive hypoglycemia is low blood sugars that occurs after a meal. Okay, and keep in mind that the brain requires fuel in the form of glucose to function. All right. And so we need to make sure that we're giving the brain enough fuel, or else it can go into panic mode. And stable blood sugars leads to sustained energy levels and mood. And I would also say a good night's sleep. So I just want to go over the symptoms of reactive hypoglycemia first. Okay. Firstly, there's this sort of stage 1 in which your blood sugars get low, and you can have the following symptoms. You can feel like have despair and depression. You can feel very fatigued. You can have some dizziness and blurred vision, and you can find it difficult to think. You might forget some of your words. You might have a lot of confusion. Your brain just might slow down. Okay. You can also feel weak physically and be uncoordinated, right? So this is sort of stage 1. Then the stage 2 type symptoms happen, and this is after the blood sugars have gone low. The body is basically freaked out because we need good glucose levels, blood sugar levels, to feed the brain. And so the body goes, hey, we've got to get our blood sugars back up. So adrenaline and cortisol is released, and this triggers the body to increase our blood sugar levels. But for people that have reactive hypoglycemia and very sensitive to their blood sugars, the adrenaline and the cortisol released can lead to symptoms such as palpitations, sweating, anxiety, anger, tremor, mood swings, and crying spells. Okay. And I know a lot of those symptoms actually sound a little bit like anxiety, right? Palpitations and sweating, and mood swings and crying spells, and tremor, so shaking of the hands and the body as well. Well, the fact is that anxiety can actually be caused by reactive hypoglycemia. So here's a few questions to ask yourself, and it helps you know whether you're affected by low blood sugars. Do you have anxiety or panic attacks? So blood sugars is the first thing that I would talk to my clients about if they had anxiety and panic. Does your mood fluctuate throughout the day? Do you skip breakfast? And do you skip meals? Because if you're doing those two things, your blood sugars can drop and lead to anxiety. Do you have a sweet tooth? Here's the opposite. You can eat sugar, and that can lead to unbalanced blood sugars. And do you get hangry? Have you heard that term before? You feel angry, but you're actually hungry. Okay. You're angry because you're actually hungry, and you get the stimulation of adrenaline and these mood swings. And thirdly, well, lastly, do you wake up anxious? Okay, and do you eat sugar, cake, chocolate, or wine at night? It could be impacting your blood sugars, and you wake up, first thing in the morning, and when it comes to sleep, you could wake up early in the morning, especially anxious and with racing mind. That could be showing that you're affected by low blood sugars. Okay, so I just want to show you how this works. All right, so this is someone that has normal blood sugars, right? You can see that it's color coded there with the different arrows, and then the color code along the right there shows what's happening at each of those stages. So firstly, you eat some food, where the blue arrow is. And then the dark arrow shows that your blood sugar levels are rising, okay? Thirdly, the blood sugars have risen so much that your body responds by releasing insulin, okay? And that leads to your blood sugar dropping once the insulin has been released. Then finally, your blood sugar levels are stabilized. So this is what should happen for most people. Okay. But what happens if you've got reactive hypoglycemia? So firstly, you eat some food, your blood sugar levels rise too fast and too high. And then your insulin is released and the blood sugar drops. But the problem is that your blood sugar drops too low, and this is where you get the start of the symptoms. Remember, stage 1 symptoms were when your blood sugars dropped. This is when you can feel that lethargy, the foggy brain, the confused thinking. Okay? And then what happens? Your blood sugars are so low that your body's like, we've got to release some adrenaline and some cortisol to raise that blood sugars again. And this is when the adrenaline comes in, and people that are sensitive to that can feel anxious. They can have a panic attack. They can have sweating and heart palpitations. So you might be experiencing this during the day if you've got anxiety, but how does this all relate to sleep? Okay, what I want to show you is that people can have hypoglycemia during the night or in the early morning. Okay, and the black line is what would normally happen. You go to bed. That's where the blue arrow is, and your blood sugar drops over the night. Okay, and so for most people, they just gradually drop, and it's not too bad. And by the time you wake up in the morning, you're ready for breakfast. But if you have hypoglycemia, if you're prone to this, your blood sugars drop over the night, and they drop too low, and you are woken up. Okay, so I've had clients that have had panic attacks through the night, okay, and they wake up through the night with panic, and it's not because of their thought processes, but because their blood sugars are dropping so low that their brain is in panic because it has no glucose to fuel the brain. Okay, and so the body wakes you up, the adrenaline wakes you up to increase the blood sugars. All right, and so you're woken up. So this could happen with night terrors or panic attacks that happen at night. Okay, and also I find that this is related to people that wake up too early in the morning. You wake up at 4 or 5. You're like, I shouldn't be waking up this early. It could just be because your blood sugars have dropped and you need fuel for your brain. Okay, so a word of warning. Eating sugar does not help low blood sugars, all right? It brings the sugar in the bloodstream up high very quickly. But then your body reacts by dropping your blood sugars again very quickly. And this can lead to your body releasing adrenaline. okay, which can lead to anxiety and panic attacks. So it is like a roller coaster. That's why I've got this showing. Like if you eat sugar, your blood sugars go up quickly, but your body responds by bringing it down, and then you can have that panic. Okay, and so you get on a cycle of ups and downs and adrenaline and eating sugar to try to fuel you and everything. So you want to be avoiding sugar. And here's some other recommendations, guidance for how to control your reactive hypoglycemia. So avoid or limit sugary foods, especially on an empty stomach. Okay, so this is key. This is key, not just only for anxiety, but for people that wake up early in the morning and probably wake through the night as well. So avoid biscuits, cakes, lollies, chocolate, alcohol, fruit juice, wine, and soda. Remove refined carbohydrates too, so like white bread and white flour and white rice crackers. Okay, have more whole foods. If you're going to eat bread, have more seeded bread and wholemeal breads. Include protein and healthy fats in each meal. Okay, and we'll be talking about this in the Let's Get Practical section. But eating protein and healthy fat will stabilize the speed at which the glucose is released into the bloodstream. So rather than your blood glucose going up quickly and then coming back down, if you have protein and healthy fats, it can just bring your blood sugars up and stabilize them. So that one's super important. Another suggestion is eat a healthy protein for breakfast. So start the day with eggs or a protein smoothie, and this starts the day off right. Okay, don't skip meals. You can also eat more frequently, up to 5 or 6 small meals per day, so you can help stabilize those blood sugars. And for some of my clients, they don't have a strong appetite, so I suggest that they add an alarm on their phone to remind them to eat regularly. And there's some sort of signs that you've got low blood sugars, and that can be yawning or shaking or forgetting your words, okay? And they can be the first signs of reactive hypoglycemia as well as anxiety. So eat at the first signs of anxiety or low blood sugars. So here's a question for you. Do you eat sugary foods daily? And do you have strong sugar cravings? If you've said yes, that might be highlighting reactive hypoglycemia to you as a cause of poor sleep, waking up early, waking through the night, as well as anxiety. Are you on a low carb, keto diet, or doing intermittent fasting? If you are, this could show that your blood sugars are out of balance too, all right? And yeah, it could be impacting your sleep at night. Do you ever get hangry? Hungry because you're angry? Do you have anxiety or panic attacks? Do you wake up in the middle of the night or early morning with anxiety or panic? If you said yes to any of these questions, I would definitely recommend that you look into or think about reactive hypoglycemia more and think about implementing some of those recommendations that are provided. Awesome. Well, now we're just going to move on quickly to talk about removing food chemicals if necessary. So we've got a whole module on food chemical intolerances, and that's in module number 6. But there are food chemicals that can actually stimulate the arousal system. So this is really, really overlooked, all right? These food chemicals can either be natural or they can be artificial. The natural food chemicals include histamines and glutamates and salicylates and phenols. But there are artificial food additives including MSG, additives and preservatives that can really stimulate the arousal system as well. So this recommendation isn't for everybody. Okay, some people can tolerate these food chemicals while others can't. But you'll find out more information about this in module number 6, and it's really the last thing that I want you to consider. Okay, I want you to think about cleaning up your diet first, cleaning up your bedroom environment and your light exposure. And then if nothing else is happening, then I want you to learn about the food chemical intolerances in module number 6. Cool, so now I just want to talk about how to put this into practice, because I want to give you some practical tools to improve your diet so that you're improving your sleep. So here's your sleep diet checklist. Totally eliminate caffeine. As I said, I wouldn't even be having 1 cup a day. So remove coffee and tea, including green tea, matcha, cocoa, chocolate and cola and energy drinks as well. Do not drink alcohol 3 hours before bed, okay? The alcohol, yes, can make you more relaxed, but it's bad for the liver and then you don't have a refreshing night's sleep. Eat 3 main meals throughout the day, all right? And so avoid intermittent fasting, okay? And have 1 to 3 healthy snacks if needed to avoid low blood sugar. So that's just for, it's not for everybody, but if you're waking through the night or early in the morning, you might need to add that healthy snack before bed. Include protein in all meals. Okay. Include healthy carbs in your meals to help melatonin production. So especially before bed, well, in the evening meal, and avoid a low carb or ketogenic diet. Avoid eating close to bedtime if you have reflux. So that's the main recommendation, that sort of mainstream recommendation that is given. But my suggestion is for some people that are having waking up too early or have panic through the night, they should have a healthy snack before bed. Avoid sugar and processed foods, as sugar will lead to unbalanced blood sugars, and processed foods will have a lot of can have additives in them, and these can be stimulatory and these can impact your sleep. And finally, the last point on the sleep diet checklist is use the plate planner to plan your meals. And you're probably wondering, oh, what's the plate planner? Well, here's when we get real practical. So this is our plate planner, okay? Basically, it's a template for how you should be planning every meal of the day, because this is going to help give you all the nutrients that you need, and it's going to help you get a good night's sleep. So firstly, you want to choose a protein source. You want to have a healthy carb, have a small amount of healthy fat, and then you want lots of non-starchy vegetables to finish off your plate. Okay, and here we've got a template for you, and you can follow this to plan your meals. So when you choose a protein source, and it should be 1/4 of your plate, and a good guidance is that you use the size of the palm of your hand and the thickness of the palm of your hand, and so that gives you an idea about how much you should be eating. So if you're a smaller person, you've got a smaller hand. If you're a larger person, you're likely to have a larger hand. If you're wanting to eat the high end of the range of the protein recommendations, so the 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, you might choose to have the protein source as big as your fingers and the palm of your hand too. Okay, so we add the protein source, then we add a healthy carb. Okay, and so this should be 1/4 of your plate or the size of your fist. Okay, so that's a good guide of how much you should be eating. Then you add a serving of healthy fat, which includes 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil or fat, so those good oils that are recommended, so olive oil and coconut oil, a handful of nuts or seeds, 1/4 to 1/2 of an avocado and 1/4 of a cup of coconut cream. So not all of them, just one option there, okay? And then finally, we add some non-starchy vegetables. So you want half of your plate to be vegetables, okay? And this will be equivalent to 2 to 3 servings. And one serving is 1/2 cup of cooked veg or 1 cup of raw veggies. So let's, as I said, get practical and give you some examples here. So for breakfast, you might choose to have eggs and sweet potato. Okay, so you've got your eggs as the protein source. Probably 3 eggs would give you a good level of protein. A fist, a quantity of sweet potato. Add some coconut oil to cook them in, and add some non-starchy vegetables like mushrooms and onions and tomatoes and maybe some spinach, okay? So that's how easy it is to plan your breakfast or your lunch. You have a sweet potato hash with eggs. For lunch, you could have a salmon salad with a banana or a salmon salad with some bread, okay? So your protein source would be the salmon, making sure that you're getting a good portion of salmon. Have a banana as your healthy carb, or bread, as I said. Add some healthy fats. So an avocado would be lovely in a salad. And then add some salad greens, some sprouts, some tomatoes, some red onions, and grated carrot and beetroot. For lunch or dinner, you might have some minced tortillas with salad. Okay, so if you could use beef mince, or if you're vegetarian, you could use the beans. That would be a good way to get your protein source in there. Have some healthy carb, and I always recommend going gluten-free if you can. This is my recommendation for anyone with depression and anxiety, and that's what I teach in my courses, is to be gluten-free. The research isn't so clear when it comes to sleep, but use some choose some healthy carb options, and then you can include some healthy fats. So some avocado, or you can use some olive oil for cooking your mince and bean mix. And then lastly, you can add in some non-starchy vegetables. Either you could hide the vegetables in the bean and mince mix. Obviously you use some tomatoes for the sauce. Maybe some tomato paste, hide some grated carrots and zucchini in there, and then maybe put some lettuce on top or some grated carrot on top. So as you can see, this plate plan is really easy for planning your meals, and you make sure that you're getting the fat, you make sure you're getting your protein, your carbs, and all your vegetables that you need to feed your brain. You could do this to plan a fish meal. You could have some snapper and some rice, have some coconut cream as a sauce, and then some non-starchy vegetables on the side, like green beans or broccoli and bok choy. Meat and 3 veg is always a good option as well. So steak and potatoes, kumara and beetroot, as well as cooking it in some coconut oil, and then having some non-starchy vegetables to finish, so some cauliflower, some zucchini, or some broccoli. We can use the same sort of planner for our breakfast and our snacks, okay, and all sort of desserts. And a green smoothie is another great option, and it's good for helping getting protein levels up in people that struggle to eat meat, or are vegetarian, or are bigger in body size, so they need more protein. So you could use some protein powder, put some healthy carbs in there, so that could be frozen mango or frozen berries. Put some healthy fats, and LSA is a nut kind of mix, which linseed, sunflower and almonds all ground up, and it's very helpful for people that have constipation. And then finally, you can throw in some non-starchy vegetables like spinach or kale into a green smoothie. It's a great option there too. Now, another way to plan, another snack that you could plan is banana, nut butter and chia seeds. Okay, it uses the same type of template but doesn't include any vegetables. So your nut butter can give you some protein. It's not really high in protein, but it gives you a little bit there. You have some banana, and then you can sprinkle on top some LSA and chia seeds for more healthy fat and a little bit extra protein as well. So I've given you some more ideas like this in the food planner, the Real Relief for Sleep food planner, which you can access in the bonus section of the membership site. But so that'll give you some extra ideas, but you can see that the plate planner is very easy to use. And there's the plate planner template in that food planner guide as well. And it will give you, it'll have more details about what protein sources there are, what healthy carbs you can include, and what type of vegetables and fats you can include in your diet. So make sure that you use that that bonus template too. So eating this way is going to help you balance your blood sugars. So following that plate planner and eating your protein and your carbs and your good fats and lots of vegetables, it's going to balance your blood sugars. It's going to lower inflammation in the brain and the body. It's going to provide amino acids for your neurotransmitters and melatonin production. And it's going to improve your mood, reduce anxiety, stabilize and increase energy levels, increase life satisfaction, that's what the research shows, as well as improve your sleep quantity and quality. So I really encourage you to follow this plate planner. It'll improve your eating and it'll improve your sleep. So let's move on and talk about the wrap up. So firstly, I want you to review your answers to the questions to consider that we've gone through this module. Okay, it's going to highlight your areas of concern if that is when it comes to what you're drinking, if you're having too much caffeine, if you're having too much sugar, if you're eating enough protein or not. Okay, so here's the wrap up, and here's some things that you can concentrate on implementing in the next few days. Completely avoid caffeine. Include protein in all of your meals. Eat balanced meals, which include protein, good carbs, healthy fats and vegetables by following that plate planner. Ensure you eat carbs at your evening meal, okay, because that's going to help you make melatonin. Eat 3 main meals per day. Limit your snacking. Make sure you're not skipping meals. The research shows that if you do those things, they're going to help you sleep, even though they're quite simple. Be more aware of your blood sugars. Are you getting hangry? Are you actually hungry, not anxious? Hungry, not stressed. You're hungry, not irritable. And you're hungry rather than just waking up for no reason. So try having a good quality snack before bed to keep your blood sugars up overnight. Remember, you could have that snack with 2 snacks we've just talked about, the green smoothie or the banana and nut butter. Remember, we've got these resources. We've got a diet and sleep questionnaire, and we've got the diet for sleep checklist as well in that workbook. And we've got the extra Real Relief for Sleep food planner, which will have the plate planner template in there for you and lots of meal ideas. So to finish this module, I've got 2 questions to ask you. What bad eating habits do you have that may be impacting your sleep? Is it the caffeine? Is it the energy drinks? Is it the sugar? Is it the skipping meals? Is it processed food? Is it not eating enough protein? What can you do differently to improve your eating and therefore your sleep? What can you do differently to improve your eating and therefore your sleep? Even just concentrating on 1 meal a day to begin with. So maybe that evening meal, to make sure you're getting good protein, good vegetables, good carbs, a little bit of good fat so that you can have a good night's sleep. So I'd like you to answer these questions in your workbook And then I will see you in module number 4, where we talk about medications, health conditions, and deficiencies that could be impacting sleep. I'll see you there.